I 100% refuse to let my dad see my child for something he did 15 years ago. My dad was always the type of guy who thought rules didn't apply to him. Growing up, he'd cut in lines at the grocery store, park in handicapped spots when he felt like it, and just generally act like the world owed him something. My mom always made excuses for him, saying he was just stressed from work or whatever. But when I was 12, he did something that changed everything. We had this neighbor, Mrs. Hawkins, who was probably in her 70s and lived alone. She had this tiny garden in her front yard where she grew tomatoes and peppers. It wasn't much, but you could tell she was proud of it. She'd water it every morning at like 6 a.m. and would wave at me when I walked to the bus stop. One day, my dad decided he wanted to expand our driveway. Problem was, about 2 feet of Mrs. Hawkins' garden was technically on our property according to some old survey he found. Instead of talking to her like a normal person, he waited until she went to visit her daughter for the weekend. I came home from school on Friday and found him out there with a shovel, just ripping up her entire garden. Not just the part on our property, the whole thing. Tomato plants, pepper plants, even these little marigolds she had planted around the edges. He threw everything in trash bags and dumped concrete over the dirt that same day. When Mrs. Chen came back Sunday night, she just stood there staring at where her garden used to be. I watched from my bedroom window as she bent down and touched the concrete like she couldn't believe it was real. She started crying right there on the sidewalk. She knocked on our door the next morning. I could hear her through the window asking my dad why he destroyed her whole garden when he could have just talked to her. She said she would have moved the plants, that she didn't know they were on our property. Her voice was shaking. My dad told her it was his land and he could do whatever he wanted with it. Then he said if she had a problem, she could call the cops, but they'd just tell her the same thing. Mrs. Chen asked about the plants that were clearly on her side of the property line, and my dad just shrugged and said, "Stuff happens." She never replanted the garden. About a year later, she moved into one of those senior living places. I always wondered if what my dad did played a part in that decision. The worst part was how proud he was of the whole thing. He'd tell the story at family barbecues like it was hilarious. How he outsmarted some old lady and got his driveway extended for free. My uncles would laugh and call him clever. It made me sick. Fast forward 15 years, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter named Emma. My dad had been asking to meet her for months after we moved back to town. My wife kept saying we should let him visit, that people change, that Emma deserved to know her grandfather. But every time I thought about Mrs. Chen standing on that sidewalk crying, I couldn't do it. This wasn't some teenage mistake or a moment of bad judgment. My dad was 45 when he destroyed that garden. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he enjoyed every second of it. The breaking point came when my dad showed up at Emma's daycare without telling us. The teachers called me at work, confused, because some older man was claiming to be Emma's grandfather and wanted to take her to get ice cream. Thank God they have strict pickup policies. When I confronted him about it, he acted like I was being ridiculous. He said he just wanted to spend time with his granddaughter and didn't see why he needed permission. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. He told me I was being dramatic about some stupid flowers from 20 years ago and that I needed to get over it. That's when I knew he hadn't changed at all. He still thought rules didn't apply to him. He still had zero empathy for the people he hurt. And now he was trying to boundary stomp with my daughter the same way he did with Mrs. Chen's garden. I told him he was never meeting Emma and that if he showed up at her daycare again, I'd call the police. He laughed and said I couldn't keep his granddaughter from him forever. But the thing is, I absolutely can.